Hi, I wanted to take a couple of minutes to talk to you about some common programming errors as we get ready to start programming in class. Some of you may have already gotten a jump on it, but it's still a good idea to hear about these. I have the welcome program here that has a couple of common errors listed, and I'm going to compile the program and let BlueJ find all of our errors. So we'll use the information in BlueJ that it gives us to correct each error so that we can eventually execute our program, okay? So let's go ahead and start. So we're going to click compile to find our first error. So our first error, we read down here, it says semicolon expected. So a semicolon, all statements in Java require a semicolon to indicate to the compiler, to BlueJ in this instance, that the statement is complete, that it's done, okay? So this statement that's highlighted in yellow needs a semicolon to tell BlueJ it's done. So let's go ahead and add that semicolon, okay? And then we're going to compile again and see if there is any additional errors. I'm going to double, sorry. My BlueJ is running slow, give me a minute. Okay, so on to our second error. So we'll see here that the message that BlueJ gives us is cannot find symbol class string. So this main method declaration here that's highlighted in yellow, that entire text, it's something that you're going to use all the time. Actually, in every single program you create in this class, you will have a main method. So it's a really good idea to just put that to memory, okay? So the error here is in regard to this class here that's in pink that says string, okay? So this class is typically written, well, is not typically, it's written with a capital S and not a lowercase s like it's written here, okay? So it's important to note that Java is case sensitive, so it's very important that you ensure appropriate capitalization in your programs, okay? So before I go and fix this, I do just want to say one thing. So you'll note that yellow highlighted, that's the declaration for the main method, okay? So it's a method, it's not a statement. So in this instance, you don't end that yellow text line there with a semicolon, okay? A method instead is a block of code that you can use to call some kind of task repeatedly throughout your program. So imagine that you have a task you want to complete. You could create a method and have that task be completed inside the block of code for the method. And then when you want to call that task, when you need that task to happen inside your program, then you just call the method. It goes back to the block of code. It does what's inside the block of code, and then it performs that inside your program. And so instead of having to write that same block of code over and over again, you just create the method once and you call to it when you need it. So it's really very beneficial. But with a method, you tell it, you tell the program compiler that it's the method block is open by using this open curly bracket, and you tell it it's complete. The method block is complete when you close it. So having that closing curly bracket tells the program, hey, this method is complete. So we actually don't require a semicolon statement there. So let's fix this S, sorry, with that little tangent. Fix the S, make it capitalized, and let's compile the program again. Okay, so our third error here says package system does not exist. Okay, so system is a package that's preloaded into Java, and the most common objects of the system package are out and in. So these objects include methods that allow you to write out to a monitor or out to a file, or it allows you to read into the program itself, either from a file itself or from user input, okay? We'll work with the system.in method later in a future lesson. But like the class string that that error we just had, the package system is case sensitive. So in this instance, package system should be a capital S and not a lowercase s like we have here. So let's capitalize that, and then let's compile again to see if we have any other problems. Okay, so our fourth error here is it says cannot find symbol method print sorry, IN, can't read very well. Okay, so the problem here is that the print method name is spelled incorrectly. So we have three types of print method, just the print method, which is print parentheses. And what that does is it only prints on a line, just one line. It doesn't actually move the cursor to the next line when it's done. Then we have the print ln parentheses method. Think of it as print line. Okay, so whenever you need to think about it, think about it as print line. So what that one does is it prints on the line and then it moves the cursor down to the next line below it for the next print statement. So, so in that instance, it's print lowercase l and an n, and then the parentheses. In our instance here, in our example, we have an I and an N instead of the L and an N, okay? So then sorry, we did have one more print statement. It's called print F parentheses, and you'll learn later about that. It formats print statements, okay? But so our print statement here, our print method is spelled incorrect. We want the print line method, so we're going to replace the lowercase I with a lowercase l, and then we're going to just compile. Okay, so you'll notice here we've got that statement that we're always looking for, class compiled, no syntax errors. So once we have no syntax errors, we can come right back here, and we can right click on welcome and click void main. That's going to execute the main. We say okay, and there is our print statement printed out to the monitor. All right. Okay, now we're going to quickly look at one other program, the calculate grade program, which is the second program you complete in this class. And we're doing this just to reemphasize the importance of capitalization and spelling in regards to variables, because this program differs from the welcome program in that in this program you actually declare and initialize several variables. Okay, so let's start by compiling this program to find our errors. Okay, so the first error we find, it says cannot find symbol variable quiz 2. Okay, so if we look at our different variable declarations here, you'll see that the only variable that we have with quiz in it is quiz 1, not quiz 2. So this reference down here to quiz 2 is going to a variable that doesn't exist. In fact, this reference really is talking about this variable up here, quiz 1. So it is a spelling error. So we're going to replace the 2 with a 1 so that the reference to the variable quiz 1 and the name of the variable quiz 1, they're identical. So let's go ahead and then compile this. Okay, so we move on from that error and we find a new error. So this error says cannot find symbol variable total assignments. Now wait a second here. We actually have the variable in our list total assignments. But the problem is the A in assignments in our reference, this one highlighted in pink, is lowercase, but in our actual variable, statement and the declaration, the A is uppercase. So like I said, Java is case sensitive, so those two have to match. So the reference that the variable that we're referring to here needs to be spelled exactly in the same method that our declaration was. So we need a capital A here, okay? So now that we've fixed that, let's compile it, and we get that statement that we're looking for where we have no syntax errors. Yay. So let's go ahead, we'll execute just to see what it looks like. Oops, there we go, okay? Okay, so as you can see from this video, we have a few common errors that you always need to be look out for when your program's not compiling, okay? Please run through these before you send them to me. I enjoy finding bugs and fixing errors, but I would really like for you to look for the bugs and errors first on your own, only because there's not always going to be a time when you have Miss Boylan to look at your programs, So it's a good idea to look through your programs and debug them yourself. So that first important error that you need to be on the lookout is the semicolon. So ensure that your statements in your programs always end with the semicolon. The second is capitalization. Remember, Java is case sensitive, so be particularly careful when you're writing programs to ensure that your Java keywords, your built-in packages, classes, methods, they're all capitalized as expected. And then also ensure that the capitalization of your variable declarations and your references match. Okay? So then the final common error that exists is spelling. And this is particularly important in regards to our variables. Make sure that your variable declaration, that spelling of that declaration, and any reference to that variable are exactly the same. If the spelling is at all incorrect, it'll throw an error. Like let's say you misspell the word grade in your declaration, but your reference to grade later is spelled correctly. You're going to get an error because it's looking for the reference is actually looking for a variable that is spelt with grade correctly. But since we never declared a variable with the name grade spelt correctly, it's not going to find it. Okay. So like I said, be sure to be on the lookout for those three key things: semicolons, capitalization, and spelling. Have fun programming.